Okay, good afternoon to all. Is my voice audible? Hello, hello, is my voice audible? Okay, yeah. Um, so actually, we are having this lecture after a long gap, right? Too many things came in between, and every time it so happened that we had to cancel our class, right? So first it was my PhD Viva, next it was some, I think, training lecture, right? And again something else happened. So finally, today we are having this ANN class after a long gap. And yeah, one more thing. Have you all seen the assignments that I have given? And is it simple for you or is it tough? Means, are you having any problem in solving the assignment? Hello, can somebody respond whether the assignments are fine or not? Hello, hello, hello. Any problem with the audio? Okay, fine. So, right. So I hope you can solve it and give it to me by 25th, means on or before 25th. If you can solve it and give it to me. Right, I will just give you my email ID. Right. So this is my email ID, and you can send the scanned copy of the assignment to this. Right. I hope you all can see it in the chat window. Right. Okay. So in the last class, I discussed about perceptron convergence. Right. The proof of convergence of perceptron learning rule. So I think lot of people must have found it slightly difficult to understand, right? Am I right or wrong? So do you want me to explain that topic again? Hello, please respond. Do you want me to explain the topic again about perceptron convergence? Nobody is responding. Hello, hello. Okay, see, someone should use the mic and tell me, right? I every time don't respond through the chat window. Just switch on your mic and tell me that what you want, right? Using the chat window is like little bit waste of time. So you can directly speak through the mic, 1 or 2%, right? That is enough. Every time using the chat window is causing time waste. Do you understand what I'm saying? See, again, you are using the chat window. I'm saying don't use the chat window. Directly tell me. I'm going to teach whatever was taught in the last class, right? I hope you at least remember the topic. Hello, why is nobody responding? Hello, see, okay, I'm not getting any response from anybody. Yeah, tell me. Hello, Sanmesh. Hello, I can't hear your voice. Hello, yeah, now I can hear. I can only hear the voice of some students, not all. I think maybe some problem with this Teachment app. Okay, so I'll do one thing. I'll start sharing the screen and I'll start teaching. So if anybody faces any problem, they can, in that case, they can use this chat window, or else try to use the mic and speak up if you have any problem, right? So in the last class, what I had did, I was explaining from a PDF file, right? So that is not, I think that is not an efficient way to explain some concept. So today I'm going to use a Microsoft Word file and I will keep on typing some equations, right? And after typing each equation, I will explain. Right? So I think this is the approach I'm going to use today. So if you have any problem with that, you just tell me. Right? I tried using the whiteboard, but using whiteboard is like using like it is like using Microsoft Paint, right? Without a mouse. So it is difficult to draw certain symbols and draw certain diagrams. So I'm going to use Microsoft Word. If any of you have any problem, you can just tell me, right? So I'm going to share one screen with you. Just 1 second. Okay, hello. Can everybody see the screen that I have shared? It's a Word document. Okay, thank you for responding this time. Right. Okay, so I hope you understand this diagram that I have drawn over here. It is nothing but two sets of data, two classes of data given by C1 and C2, which is separated by this line. Again, it is not a line. See, in case this input vector x, if it is multidimensional, this can be a hyperplane, right? So in a 2D representation, it looks like a straight line, but actually it may be a hyperplane also. Okay, so what do we call such kind of data? Is it linearly separable or not linearly separable? This is linearly separable data, right? You can draw a straight line which will distinguish, means which will separate both of them, right? C1 and C2, right? So now based on the values of the weights, right? W is the vector representing weights and X is the vector, it is the input vector, right? So W transpose into X equal to 0 is the linear decision boundary, right? Which separates the two set of data. And this is what we will use for classification, right? If this full area means near to this C1 set of data, that is actually W transpose X greater than 0, right? At this part of the graph, this set of data is the region where W transpose into X is less than 0, right? So in, based on this information, we can actually classify it into C1 and C2, right? Okay, that is what I have written over here. Now, X in this case, I have written as x1, x2, and 1, right? It means there is two input, x1 and x2, and there is one input for the bias, right? That is 1. It always remains fixed, no change to that. And corresponding to the input, we have the weights, right? For x1, we have W1 weight, x2, we have W2, and again, bias is shown as B. So W transpose into X will be what? W transpose into X will be W1 X1 plus W2 X2 plus B. It is nothing but the dot product of two vectors. Right. Till this I am sure that you understand very clearly. So from here onwards, I will start typing some things, right? So it will take some time. Just bear with me. Okay. So in this case, right, in this case, you have only two inputs, but in a practical case, there can be more than two inputs, right? It could be like you can have, you can have something like this, right? X1, X2 up to Xn. Similarly, weights also, it can be W1, W2 till Wn. And of course, the input and weight corresponding to bias will be there at the end. Right? It could be something like this. So in such a case, what happens? This W transpose into X will be right. So this will be the equation. Now perceptron. Now there are two kinds of classification, right? One is correct classification. Means see for W transpose X greater than 0, we are classifying X into C1, right? Means suppose we got something like this, right? And also X is part of C1, right? These two conditions are satisfying. That means we have correctly classified. So what will you do? How will you update the weights? Right. So how will you update the weight in this case? I mean, what will be right? What will be W of n plus 1? W of n plus 1 will be nothing but W of n, right? Because there is no need to change this value of weight, because already you are getting the correct result, right? Correct classification. Similarly, in a case where opposite of this means, if it is, you are getting it is less than 0 and x is element of C2, right? Again, same, it is correct classification. Again, you will follow the same thing. No need to change the weights. You will get same. But what about incorrect classification? Suppose you get something like this is maybe less than or equal to 0, and but in actual case x is element of C1, right? That means whatever we are getting over here is contradicting the actual case, right? X is belonging to C1, so this should be actually greater than 0. That means we have to change the value of this weight such that it becomes greater than 0. So what we need to do over here, I hope you remember the error correction learning, right? So if you know error correction learning, what should we do, right? What should be the value of this W of n plus 1? Will it be same as W of n? It has to be, it should be modified, right? If you keep it same, then there is no modification to this expression. You need to do something so that this becomes greater than 0. So again, according to error correction learning, what you will do, yeah, tell me what should I do over here? Can somebody help me? Hello? Hello? Somebody please respond. Anyone of you remember what is error correction learning? How we used to update the weights of the perceptron? Nobody is interested, right? Okay, I'll tell you. Right, so what we will do is we will do like this. Right, this is what we will do. See why we are doing like this? Because W transpose into X is less than 0. Means what? See here you have this line, right? Now suppose, okay, I don't know how to draw one straight line over here, but see, you need to understand. Sometimes, see, this is the correct position of the line, but sometimes what happens, this line can go over here, right? So in this case, what is happening? For W transpose into X less than 0, some points of C1 are also coming. in addition to C2, C2 is okay. C2's position is fine. But in this case, some points over here, some points within C1 are also falling where W transpose of X is less than 0. So what you need to do, you need to modify this weight, modify this W so that you can shift this line over here, right? Same case can also happen that this line is over here, right? So in addition to some points of C1, some points of X belonging to C2 are also in the region W transpose of X greater than 0. So what you need to do, you need to shift this line over here. And how will you shift this line? But shifting this line means you are actually changing the values of W, means weights as well as bias. Then only you can shift the position of this line. Right. So that is what we are doing over here. We are changing the values of weights so that the line is shifted up and down, right? So that it comes exactly in between classes C1 and C2. I hope you are able to understand, right? So here again, common sense. See, you need to make W transpose X greater than 0. So what you should do, you should actually increase the value of weight, right? Okay. The next case is again one more case of misclassification. That is, this thing is greater than 0 and you are, and in actual scenario X is element of C2, right? So what here it should come as less than or equal to. So here what you will do, you will reduce the value of weights. So here in place of plus sign, you will get minus sign, right? That is the only difference. Okay, so up till here, is it clear? Any doubts? Hello, please respond when I ask that if you have any doubts or not. If nobody responds, then I will simply move ahead. Hello. Okay, I will continue. So up to here, it is clear, right? So now the question is, up to what point should we keep on following this mathematical steps, right? There should be some stopping point, right? After which we get the correct values of weights, W, such that every time it will give this correct classification. That is our target, right? So in this lecture, what I'm going to teach you is the perceptron convergence. Means what are the points which will show that this algorithm has converged or not, right? So there is a mathematical proof for that. Okay, and now for this proof, we are going to take certain assumptions, right? What are those assumptions? First is that the classes C1 and C2, they should be they should be what? They should be linearly separable, right? That is the first most important condition. After this, the initial values of weights and bias, right, which is given as right, for the first iteration, the values of weight should be 0. Okay, this is the second assumption. Third assumption is value of the learning factor should be 1, right? So here, if you take eta equal to 1, what will happen? This is nothing but you can simply remove this, right? Similarly over here, okay. So that is what happens if you take eta equal to 1. right? So now consider that only incorrect classifications are taking place, right? So that means I'm only considering these equations. Of course, if it is correct classification, right? Every time it is giving like wn plus 1 is equal to wn plus 1 equal to wn. That means the algorithm has converged. No need to update the weights. You got the proper form of the linear decision boundary. You don't need to do anything. Algorithm has converged. But we need to consider the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is that every time it is incorrectly classifying, and every time you need to modify the weights of the perceptron, right? So in this, either this part or this part, right? So let us take one case. Let us take the case in which W transpose X is less than or equal to 0, and in actual case X is element of C1, right? So we are going to consider these first two equations. So that means equation of updating of the weights, right? This is the equation. Theta is equal to 1. So W of n plus 1 equal to W of n plus X of n, right? Now we will take the case when n is equal to, sorry, right? We will take the case for the first iteration or the zeroth iteration. So what will be the equation? It will be W of 1 is equal to W of 0 is what? It is 0, right? So directly you can write as it is equal to X of 0, right? I hope this much you can understand. Now let us take for n equal to 1, right? For n equal to 1, yeah. So, right. Now we have already proved that W of 1 is equal to X of 0. So this is nothing but you can substitute X of 0 over here, right? Now we can generalize this expression in the following way. I mean, for the nth iteration, you can write down as So this is the generalized form of the expression of the updating of weights. You can see that it is nothing but it is in terms of the input that we are getting. Okay, and again, x of 0 actually does not have any meaning. You can actually remove this term. It is nothing but x1 plus x2 plus dot 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 till x of n, right? Okay, I hope you understand because what I want to say is that x of 0 does not exist actually. Inputs you are having from 1 to n, right? It is not from 0 to n, it is from 1 to n. So this is actually means it does not exist. So that is why w of n plus 1 is equal to x1 plus x2 plus dot 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 up to xn. Okay. Now, what we need to prove is suppose the finally converged values of weights are given by, sorry, right. So W naught is the finally converged value of weights. Means what? If I write down this equation, if I take the transpose of this and I multiply it with x, right? So if I, okay, wait 1 second. Right. So this should be greater than 0 or less than 0. It will be greater than 0, right? Because it is the correctly updated values of weights which will satisfy this condition such that your x is part of C1 or C2. X will be part of C1, right? So can I say like, right, there will be some minimum positive value alpha such that this thing, this expression will be greater than alpha, greater than or actually greater than or equal to. Right. I hope you understand. This alpha could be anything. It could be some 0.01, 0.05, something like that. So W naught transpose X should be greater than or equal to this value. Now, what I want to do over here in this expression, let us consider that this is equation number 1. Right. So in equation number 1, what I will do, I will multiply this W naught transpose on both sides. So what I get, again, I did not draw the vector symbol over here. I did not make this bar, but you have to understand, right? There is a bar on top of this. So, okay, wait, I will just write down the correct form of this W naught. Again, this whole thing I have to multiply with each and every term over here. Okay, so we multiplied with W naught transpose on both side of equation. Now look at this right hand side. See, here on just on top we derive this relation that W naught transpose into X is greater than or equal to alpha. And over here we have n such terms. So can I say that this whole thing is nothing but n times alpha, right? There are n terms which are greater than or equal to alpha. So alpha plus dot 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 n times alpha. So here I can say it is n into alpha, right? So can I directly write down an expression that this term on the left hand side will be greater than or equal to n times of alpha, right? I hope this much part is clear. See, this right hand side is nothing but n times alpha. Sorry, it will be greater than or equal to alpha, and this is equal to this. So the expression on the left hand side is greater than or equal to n times alpha. I hope this much part is clear. So let us call this as equation number 2. Now we have something known as Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. Right. So what is this? Suppose you have two vectors. Let us say it is x bar and y bar. And right. And you have this expression that um, you have some expression like this. Now, according to this Cauchy-Schwarz inequality, what it states that is if you take the square, right, squaring both these things, this will be greater than or equal to, right. So this is Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. Again, the same formula we are going to use in this case. So your x is nothing but W naught, your y is W of n plus 1. So, this whole thing will be greater than or equal to, right. Now, look at your equation number 2. Equation number 2 states that W naught transpose W of n plus 1 is greater than or equal to n times alpha. And this is nothing but what I have written over here, right? So what can we write this right over here? Can I write like, can I write like this? Now I will write down in the terms of W of n plus 1 norm square. Right. Again, this double bar means Euclidean norm. I hope you know what is Euclidean norm. By this stage, at this stage, I think it should be clear for you. Right. So this is the result that we get. Now what we got over here is actually one one half of this entire derivation. See, what we got over here is actually the lower bound of this number. What we want is this n. N shows the number of iterations that we have to execute, right, till convergence. And we what we got here is the lower bound, means W of n plus 1 updated value should be greater than or equal to this whole term. Now, just like we found out this lower bound, the second part is to find out the upper bound. Means another way of doing is, now we got this expression over here somewhere, right? This equation number one. This equation number one we can write in a different way. Suppose it is some kth iteration, right? Where k is some, k can be any value between 1 to n, right? And of course, uh, also one very important point that you have to note is x of k is element of h1. Again, h1 is a subset of class c1. You have two subsets of c1 and c2, that is nothing but h1 and h2. I'll just write it down over here. So your h1 is a subset of, okay, where is the subset of simple, yeah, h1 is a subset of c1 and S2 is a subset of P2. Right. I hope this is clear. Right. So according to this expression, now over here, let us square on both the sides, taking the Euclidean norm square. Now when I take Euclidean norm square, what I get is this is equal to, again, it is just like your A plus B whole square kind of expression. Oh, sorry, here I made one mistake. I'm sorry. This should be W. Okay, WK plus X of K. Plus 2 times of, right. So we arrived at this expression. Now, due to the misclassification, you already know that this is less than 0 or greater than 0. This is less than 0, right? Now, since this is less than 0, forget about this last term. So can I write as, right? Is this true or not? Because this term is negative, so I can write down that the term on this left hand side is less than or equal to this term on the right hand side. Okay, now take this over to this side. Right. Now, just like I proved over here that there is some minimum positive value such that W naught transpose of X is greater than or equal to alpha, right? And how this whole thing becomes an alpha. Again, I am defining a positive value, beta exists such that here we have summation of X of K, right? Right. It should be less than or equal to some value beta, means it is the maximum value. It is actually the is a maximum value of this summation of x of k square. So if this is the case, again there is one more relation which I forgot to write down. You have this w of k plus 1 whole square is less than or equal to summation of right from I equal to 1 to uh, right from I equal to 1 to n. So just 1 second. I'll write it down in a proper way. Right now already we have proved that this thing is less than or equal to beta. So in the next step, I will write down as I hope you are taking notes as I am writing this thing down. If you take notes, it will be easier for you to understand. Right. So this is the one more condition that I got. Okay, so this is actually equation number. This is actually equation number 3, and this should be equation number 4, right? So equating 3 and 4, what we get? So we get something like, okay, I know time's up, but just please wait for some time. I'll just explain this concept to you and then you can move on to the next lecture. Just please bear with me for 5 minutes. So this will be equal to n max into beta, right? Now just cancel n max over here and write down this equation in the terms of n max. What you will get, n max will be equal to right. So this is the expression for n max. Now you have something known as fixed increment fixed increment convergence theorem. So what it means is that, so I'll just stop sharing this screen. So derivation is only up to this point. This equation number 5 is the final result, means the maximum number of iterations required, n max required for convergence is given by this expression. And based on that, we have something known as fixed increment convergence theorem. So what it means is, I'll just stop sharing this screen. And I'll just share another, the Simon Higgins textbook. Right. So can you see this PDF file on your screen? Yeah. Okay. Just one last thing I want to show to you. Yeah. This is the fixed increment convergence theorem. This text shown in blue color lines. So let the subsets of training vectors h1 and h2 be linearly separable. Right, h1 and h2 are actually parts of c1 and c2, and c1 and c2 are already linearly separable. So suppose we are getting some inputs from both this h1 and h2. So after suppose the perceptron converges, means the updating of weights is converged after some n naught number of iterations, then what happens is w of n naught, means the weights, it keeps on, means there will be no change, no further change in the weights in the perceptron. That is nothing but the fixed increment convergence. Again, it is the solution for n naught less than or equal to n max, right? Okay, so that's all. That is the end of the class. So you all can join the next class. So I will end this. Thank you. Thank you for attending.